AITA for refusing to help my ex-wife after she left when I was diagnosed with cancer. I, 30, had been married to Lydia, 29, for 4 years in what seemed like a pretty normal situation. We lived in a shared apartment in Indianapolis, had decent jobs, and followed the typical domestic routine. I worked in logistics for a medical supply company, made a reasonable salary, and paid most of the bills. She was getting her master's degree in psychology while working as an assistant at a job that barely covered the payment on her Audi, the car she just had to have. But we were happy until it all fell apart. I got the cancer diagnosis on a Tuesday morning and the "I'm leaving you" text from my wife on a Thursday afternoon. Stage 2 testicular cancer. The doctor said it was treatable. Caught early. Good prognosis with chemotherapy. It was still cancer, though. Still the kind of thing that makes you reevaluate your entire life. I called Lydia from the parking lot. Told her straight up. I was expecting some kind of support. Instead, silence. Then, she said, "I need time to process this." She hung up before I could reply. She didn't come home that night. She called and said she was staying at a friend's house. 2 days later, still processing, I guess, she sent me a text at 2:47 p.m. while I was researching treatment options. I can't do this. I'm still in love with Cole, and I need to see if there's still something there on his end. This whole cancer thing made me realize life is too short to be with someone I'm not passionate about. You're a good guy, but you're not him. I need closure. I read it 3 times. Checked to make sure I was reading English. My wife was leaving me because my cancer made her realize she wanted her ex. The logic was stunning. My best friend Ryan called around 4 p.m. to check on me. I sent him the screenshot without a word. Are you kidding me? Nope. I'm on my way. He was there 20 minutes later. He didn't ask questions. He just sat there while I stared at the ceiling, trying to figure out how getting cancer had turned me into the villain of my own marriage. Ryan stayed until 8 p.m. He didn't try to give advice. He was just there. Before he left, he said, "Whatever you need, man. I'm here." Around 9 p.m., my phone buzzed. Another text from her. "I'm staying at Brielle's. We can talk about the apartment and stuff later. Hope the treatment goes well." Hope the treatment goes well. Like she was wishing me luck on a job interview. Not an "I'm sorry." Not a "this is terrible." Just casual well wishes and logistics about our shared life. I didn't respond. I started looking for apartments online that night, and the next day, I researched 2 things: chemo side effects and divorce lawyers. I figured I could multitask. I started chemo the following week. For cycles, every 3 weeks. The doctor said I'd probably feel sick, but most guys got through it fine. Keep working if I could. Staying active helped. Positive attitude. Right. My wife had just left me for having cancer. But yeah, let's stay positive. Between the first and second treatment, I did some digging. Ryan came over to keep me company since Lydia had made it clear she wasn't interested in that role. We ordered food, and I opened her laptop. She always left it in the kitchen with the password taped to the back because remembering 6 characters was apparently beyond her. Master's degree in psychology, but basic password security was too complex. Facebook was open. Messages with her ex, Cole, going back for months. Not 6 months. For months of active planning while she slept next to me every night. I started reading. Ryan read over my shoulder. "I miss you so much it physically hurts. Do you ever think about that weekend at your parents' lake house? I think I married the wrong person. He's a good guy, but he's not you. Too boring, too predictable. You're the one who makes me feel things, Cole." That last one was from 3 weeks ago, right after I surprised her with tickets to the play she wanted to see. Right after I spent $200. I guess I didn't need to try so hard to make her happy. I was boring and predictable. And then the cancer part. But it gets better. It always gets better. When are you back in town? Next month. My leave got approved. We should meet up. Are you sure that's a good idea? I need to see you. I need to know if there's still an us. And Ethan? Ethan will be fine. He'll understand eventually. He's always been so understanding. Too understanding if you ask me. The messages from that week were even better. I told him. How did he take it? We haven't talked since, but he just got diagnosed with cancer. Wait, you told him after he got diagnosed? I couldn't keep pretending. He deserved the truth. Besides, now he has something to focus on besides me. That's brutal, Lydia. That's why I love you. Something to focus on besides me, as if cancer were a hobby. Ryan looked at me and said, "This is narcissistic behavior." Yeah, I took screenshots of everything. Every message, a full 4 months of conversations. It took me an hour. I uploaded it to a cloud drive with a password she would never guess. I made backups of the backups. Then I checked our bank accounts. We had separate checking accounts, but a joint savings for emergencies and big purchases. It had $12,000 in it. Money I had been saving for 3 years. $200 a month, every single month without fail. My safety net for exactly this kind of situation. Lydia had contributed exactly once. $500 2 years ago when her parents gave her birthday money and she felt guilty. I transferred the entire thing to my personal account. Took 3 minutes. I opened a new savings account at a completely different bank. Transferred the money again. 2 layers of separation. Then I called the landlord, an older guy who owned half the building. He had always been reasonable with me. Hey, it's Ethan from 4B. I've got a situation. My wife and I are separating. I need to know what it takes to get my name off the lease. Wow, I'm sorry to hear that. How much time do you need? None. I'm moving out in the next few days. She can have the apartment or leave. I don't care. I just need to make sure I'm not on the hook when she inevitably stops paying. Legally, I need both signatures to amend the lease, but I can work with you. Pay through the end of next month, and we'll call it a day. I'll handle the rest. Done. 2 months' rent was $3,400. I paid it on the spot with my card. It left me with about $8,000 available, but it was worth it. I appreciate that, Ethan. You need anything else, you let me know. Actually, yeah, don't tell her I called. If she asks, just say I gave proper notice and paid up. Got it. The next call was to my boss. I managed logistics for a medical supply distributor, a mid-level position, decent pay, a job I was actually good at. I told her I needed to take my 2 weeks of vacation starting the following week for treatment and personal matters. She agreed without hesitation. By 5 p.m., I had everything lined up. Money secured, lease handled, time off approved. Now for the fun part. Ryan looked at me from the couch. So what's the plan? Pack, leave. Quietly, no drama. Where are you going? My brother lives in Nashville. It'll be temporary. I'll get my own place once I'm more stable. Ryan stood up. When do we start? We started at 6 p.m. Ryan handled the heavy lifting while I directed and managed the small stuff. Clothes went into 2 large duffel bags, toiletries in a backpack, laptop, chargers, important documents, the signed baseball from the only game Dad ever took me to before he died. Pictures from before I met Lydia. My grandfather's pocket watch collection was in a display case in the living room. 5 watches, a few from the 1920s. Worth a few $1,000s total, but the sentimental value was what really mattered. Ryan packed them carefully while I supervised. I left absolutely everything we had bought together. Furniture, kitchenware, that overpriced espresso machine she insisted we needed. Wedding gifts still in boxes, the framed pictures of us, all of it. Packing up 4 years of a marriage took about 2 hours. Turned out most of it wasn't even mine. Funny how that works. I found her wedding ring on the bathroom sink. She had taken it off. She didn't even have the decency to hide it. Just left it there. I put it in an envelope with a note. Nothing dramatic. Just, found this. Figured you wouldn't be needing it anymore. My phone started buzzing around 7 p.m. Lydia calling. I declined it. She called again. I declined again. Then the text started. Ethan, we need to talk about the apartment. I need to know what you're planning to do about the bills. You can't just ignore me. This affects both of us. Both of us. Suddenly, she was very concerned about both of us. How convenient. I didn't reply and kept packing. She called 6 more times over the next hour. I let them all go to voicemail. I finally listened to one around 8 p.m. Ethan, seriously. You can't just disappear. We have responsibilities, the apartment, the bills, all of it has to be dealt with. You need to act like an adult. Act like an adult. The woman who left me because my cancer made her realize she wanted someone else was telling me to act like an adult. Ryan finished loading everything up around 9 p.m. Everything I cared about fit in his car. You spend years accumulating stuff, and then you realize most of it was just dead weight. I left my key on the kitchen counter and took one last look at the place I'd called home for 3 years. I felt nothing. That was the scariest part. No sadness, no anger, just nothing. Ryan drove me to Nashville, a 5-hour drive down I-65. We left at 9:30 p.m. and got in around 3 a.m. My brother Damien met us at his apartment in East Nashville. It felt good to have him by my side after we lost our parents in a horrible accident 4 years ago. "Welcome to Nashville," he said. "The guest room is yours as long as you need it. Though knowing you, you'll want your own place soon. A few weeks. Just need to get through the next round of chemo. Right? Snacks in the fridge. We'll talk tomorrow." I crashed. I slept for 12 straight hours. Best sleep I had experienced in months. I woke up on Saturday around 2 p.m., feeling like hell, but at least it was a new kind of hell in a new place. First thing I did was check my phone. 193 notifications. Apparently, Lydia had spent the entire night having a complete text message meltdown. The first few were annoyed. "Where are you? This is ridiculous. Answer your phone." Then they turned demanding. "Where are you? This is so typical of you. Always running away." Around 3 a.m., they got aggressive. "You're being such a child. Running away doesn't solve anything. I deserve an explanation after 4 years. You owe me that much." I deserved an explanation. That was rich. The woman who left me for having cancer deserved an explanation. The last text, sent at 5:42 a.m., said, "Fine. If you won't talk to me, I'm going back to the apartment to get my things. The expensive plates were gifts from my family anyway. You can't stop me from taking what's mine." Her things. In the apartment. The apartment I had already left and paid 2 extra months on. "Sure, take whatever you want." I was done. I didn't reply to a single one. Instead, I got to work on the important stuff. I called my insurance company, explained I was getting a divorce, and needed to know how to remove my wife from the policy. They walked me through it. 30-day notice, some simple paperwork. While I was at it, I removed my name from her car insurance. That Audi she demanded was her problem now. Next, I checked our credit report. We had one joint card from 2 years ago for emergencies. It had a $100 balance. I paid it off and called to have the card canceled completely. Then I looked at her credit card, the one in her name that I had been paying for the last year, because she had maxed it out on God knows what and couldn't afford the payments on her assistant's salary. The balance was $4,200. I had been paying $300 a month on it like an idiot, like a good husband. I called and removed myself as an authorized payer. Effective immediately, she could figure it out. The phone rang again. A different number. It was Brielle, Lydia's best friend and apparently her current roommate. "Ethan, what the hell is wrong with you? Lydia is losing her mind. Where are you?" "Not your problem, Brielle. She said you just disappeared. You can't just do that. She's going through a lot right now, and you're making it worse." "She's going through a lot. Fascinating. Tell me more about how hard she has it. Don't be horrible. She's trying to figure her life out. You could at least be a little supportive." "She left me because I have cancer. I'm going to pass on the supportive ex-husband role." "It wasn't like that. You're twisting things." "Sure I am. Have a nice day, Brielle." I hung up and blocked her number. For the next hour, I blocked everyone connected to Lydia. Her friends, her sister, her mother who never liked me anyway. A clean sweep. If they wanted to be her support network, fine. I was done being part of that system. My brother got home around 4 p.m., "Heard you've been busy. Want to talk about it?" I told him everything. The texts with Cole, the 4 months of planning, the complete lack of concern for my health. He just shook his head by the end of it. Man, I never liked her. I spent the rest of Saturday and all of Sunday taking care of the boring parts of leaving a life behind. I changed my address with the bank, updated my driver's license, closed accounts, opened new ones, and filed the initial separation paperwork online because Tennessee makes it easy if neither party contests it. Lydia called 23 times that weekend. I didn't answer a single one. On Monday, I looked at an apartment near Germantown. Small but clean, good neighborhood, month-to-month lease for the first 3 months given my circumstances. I signed the papers that afternoon. I moved in on Wednesday with help from Ryan, who took a few days off to drive down. I started my second round of chemo on Thursday. Felt like crap, but at least I had my own place to feel like crap in. Small victories. Damien came by that weekend with food. Settling in. "Yeah, it's good. This is good. Thanks for letting me stay at first." "Anytime, you know that." "Hey, remember I mentioned that job opening? They're still looking. Want me to get you an interview for after your treatment is done?" "Absolutely. It's a solid company, regional pharma distributor. Better pay than your old job. Can't be worse than my old life." He laughed. "Good point." 2 weeks later, Lydia finally figured out I had left Indiana. I don't know how. Maybe she called my office, Maybe she searched for me online. It didn't matter. At 4 a.m., my phone started ringing. Unknown number. I answered because I wanted to get this conversation over with. She wasted no time on pleasantries. She went straight for the attack about the savings account. The $12,000 had vanished overnight, and she had noticed. She demanded to know where I had moved it. As if she had any legal right to money I had been depositing alone for 3 years while she contributed exactly once with birthday money from her parents. I told her it was in my account now, that it was my money, and to sue me if she wanted to. That's when things got interesting. She didn't argue about the marriage or plead for another chance. She argued about the money, specifically about needing it to start fresh with Cole. She said it just like that, with no shame whatsoever. She had been counting on that savings to help them get an apartment together when he got back stateside. She apparently had the whole thing planned out. The audacity was almost impressive. She left me for having cancer, spent months planning a future with another guy, and now she wanted me to bankroll her happy ending, as if I should be grateful she was at least being honest about it. She kept talking. She said I owed her for the 4 years she had supported me, that she had sacrificed her own happiness by staying in a boring marriage while I was too predictable and safe to appreciate what I had, and that the least I could do was help her move on since I had clearly already moved on with my life. I asked her what, exactly, she had sacrificed. She stammered out some nonsense about emotional labor and being there for me. I reminded her she literally walked out the second I got diagnosed. Silence for about 5 seconds. Then she pivoted. She said I was being petty and vindictive over one mistake, that I had always been good at holding grudges, and that this was typical behavior for me. That if I truly cared about her happiness, I would want to help her build something real with someone she actually loved. Someone she actually loved. She said that out loud, to the husband she had left 2 weeks prior. I asked her if Cole knew she was calling me to ask for money. More silence. She tried one last angle. She said the apartment was going to be too expensive for her alone, that she couldn't afford the rent and her car payment without my income, that I had left her in an impossible situation and the mature thing to do would be to help her until she could get back on her feet. I told her I had already paid the lease for the next 2 months, that her feet were her problem now, and that she should ask Cole for help, since he was the person she actually loved. She called me selfish, said I had always been selfish, that this just proved she made the right decision in leaving me. I hung up and blocked the number. The calls kept coming. Different numbers, friends of friends, people I barely knew who were suddenly very concerned about my marriage. I blocked them all. 6 weeks later, I finished my last round of chemo. The doctor said everything looked good. Cancer markers were down. I'd need regular checkups, but the prognosis was excellent. I probably wouldn't need radiation. Best news I had gotten in months. That same week, I had the interview for the logistics job Damien had mentioned. The company was solid, a regional pharmaceutical distributor. They needed someone to manage their supply chain coordination. Better pay than my old job. Better benefits, real room for growth. The interview went great. They offered me the position on the spot. I started the following Monday. Things were looking up. Then I got a text from an old coworker in Indianapolis, a guy named Tyler. He had always been a straight shooter with me. Hey man, just thought you should know. Lydia is telling everyone you had an affair and stole money from her. Says that's why she left, that you cheated on her while she was trying to support you through the cancer. Just thought you'd want to know what she's saying. And there it was. The reason my phone had been quiet for a few weeks. She had been busy rewriting history. I sent him the screenshots. All of them. The messages with Cole, the timeline, everything. Holy cow, he replied. This is the exact opposite of what she's saying. You mind if I share this? Half the office thinks you're a terrible person. Jim from accounting was about to report you to HR for a hostile work environment before you left. Go for it. I'm done protecting her reputation. Within 24 hours, the story had ripped through my old company. It turns out Lydia's victim narrative fell apart pretty quickly when people saw proof that she had been the one engaging in infidelity. My phone started getting texts from people apologizing. I didn't answer most of them. What was the point? They had believed her without even hearing my side. Meanwhile, Cole had problems of his own. Turns out, the military takes documentation very seriously. Those screenshots I had, the ones showing a 4-month active affair with a married woman while he was on active duty, I printed every single one of them out. I compiled them into a neat little package with dates, times, and context. I sent it directly to his commanding officer with a cover letter explaining the situation in excruciating detail. The military has very specific regulations about adultery. It's not just frowned upon. It's actually against the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Article 134. Conduct unbecoming. Especially when you're dumb enough to document the whole thing in writing, like you're keeping a diary for your own court-martial. It took 2 weeks. I got a call from a military lawyer asking for clarification on a few details. I provided everything they asked for. Very cooperative, very thorough, very detailed. They seemed almost impressed with how well documented it all was. Cole got an Article 15, non-judicial punishment. Pay docked, rank reduced, a formal reprimand on his permanent record. Career effectively stalled. Any chance of ever becoming an officer was gone. All those years of service and all that promotion potential flushed down the toilet because he couldn't maintain professional boundaries or delete his texts. I heard about it through the grapevine. I didn't gloat. I didn't celebrate. I just filed it away as justice served and moved on with my actual life. Lydia called me screaming about it. Apparently, Cole had told her what happened, and she put 2 and 2 together immediately. She went off about how I had ruined his career out of spite, how I was vengeful and cruel, how I destroyed an innocent man's future over a personal grudge. I let her rant for about 30 seconds before I cut her off with the simple truth. He ruined his own career by violating military regulations. I just made sure the right people had the necessary information to enforce their own rules. It wasn't my fault he was dumb enough to put it all in writing. She called me a vengeful psycho before she hung up. I smiled for the first time in weeks. Nashville was working out better than I had hoped. The new job was great. It paid 15% more than my old position. The boss was reasonable. The coworkers were solid. I was actually enjoying going to work again instead of dreading every morning and every conversation. I started going to the gym regularly, not trying to get huge or have some dramatic transformation, just trying to feel normal again. The routine helped. The structure helped. Having something to focus on besides the wreckage of my marriage and cancer treatments helped even more. Damien introduced me to some of his friends. Good people, all around my age. No one asking prying questions about my personal life. No one treating me like I was made of glass. We went out after work, watched games on the weekends, normal guy stuff I had stopped doing when Lydia decided my friends were too immature for her refined grad school tastes. Ryan came to visit in the 3rd month. He brought a few things I had forgotten to pack, including college photos and my old baseball glove. He didn't make a big deal out of it. He just handed them over and said he figured I would want them eventually. The 4th month brought new problems for Lydia. Her car got repossessed. I heard about it from Tyler, who heard it from someone else at my old company. Apparently, she had missed 3 payments after I stopped co-signing for her. The bank didn't care about her stories or her excuses about being emotionally devastated. Then she got evicted from our old apartment. She couldn't afford the rent without my income covering most of it. The landlord gave her some extra time out of pity, but he finally had to go through with the eviction when she got 2 months behind. She was out. By the 5th month, her whole life had collapsed. She dropped out of grad school because she couldn't afford the tuition without me supplementing her income. She moved back to Ohio with her parents, who I heard were less than thrilled about their daughter's life choices. She was working retail to pay off her credit card and car loan debts, trying to rebuild from nothing. Cole was stuck at his demoted rank with a permanent stain on his record, facing the reality that his military career had peaked and would never recover. The last I heard through the grapevine was that Lydia and Cole tried to make it work for about 6 weeks before the whole thing fell apart. It turns out a relationship built on cheap thrills and shared victimhood doesn't translate well to real responsibilities and real-world consequences. I felt absolutely no guilt about any of it. She made her choices. These were the natural consequences. And then there was Nora. Funny how that worked out. Remember that nurse who was part of my treatment team during chemo? The one who checked on me during the worst of it. The one who told terrible jokes to distract me from feeling like hell. The one who actually seemed to care if I was okay. Yeah, her. We had talked during treatments. Nothing inappropriate, just conversations. She was easy to talk to. She made the hours in that chair more bearable. She told me about Nashville since I was new. Recommended restaurants and neighborhoods, normal stuff. But there was something there, some kind of connection I didn't have the mental capacity for while I was dealing with everything else. After my last treatment, she gave me her number. Said if I ever needed someone to show me the real Nashville, someone who knew the good spots, to give her a call. Not a date, just a friendly offer from someone who had seen me at my worst and still thought I was worth getting to know. I waited a month, got settled in my new place, and made sure I wasn't just looking for a rebound or a distraction. Then I called. One night over dinner, she was direct. She looked at me and asked point blank if I was still hung up on my ex or if I was ready for something new. I told her the truth. I was over her the second she sent that text. Everything after that was just building a better life. She nodded. She said that was the right answer because she didn't date men who were still carrying their ex-wife around as emotional baggage. After that, we were officially together. 6 months after I left Indianapolis, I had a better job, a better city, and a better relationship. I was sleeping through the night and actually looking forward to things instead of dreading them. Regular checkups showed I was still cancer-free. The future looked pretty good. Lydia had lost everything. Cole's career was permanently stalled, and I was thriving. But she wasn't done yet. 8 months later, I was sitting on my balcony with a soda, watching the sunset over Nashville when my building's buzzer went off. Nora was on her way over. We had just signed a lease together. We were moving in next month. Life was good, stable, quiet. I answered the intercom, expecting Nora's voice, and heard Lydia's instead. "Ethan, it's me." I hadn't heard that voice in months. "How did you find my address?" I asked. I asked around. "We need to talk, please. Just 5 minutes." I should have told her to leave. I should have called the police. But I wanted this. I wanted to see what she looked like standing at my door. A life completely dismantled after 8 months. This was going to be entertaining. "Come on up." When I opened the door, she looked wrecked. Truly wrecked. Tired wasn't the word. Broken fit better. Hair pulled back in a greasy ponytail. No makeup hiding the dark circles under her eyes. She was wearing clothes I recognized from 3 years ago that now hung off her frame because she had clearly lost stress weight. The Audi was gone. She had definitely come by bus. Maybe she had begged for a ride. Maybe she had walked the last leg because she couldn't afford the fare. She stood there in my doorway, looking at my nice apartment, my new, expensive furniture, my clearly thriving life, and I watched her face crumble as she realized just how far she had fallen while I had soared. "Nice place. You've done really well for yourself. What do you want, Lydia?" She launched into a clearly rehearsed speech about needing to see me, being desperate to talk, begging to apologize for everything, but her voice kept cracking. She had clearly practiced it in a mirror about 50 times, trying out different versions, probably crying through most of them. The desperation rolling off her was pathetic. She told me she knew what she wanted now, that it was me, that it had always been me, that she had just been confused and scared. 4 months of active planning with another man was apparently just a temporary insanity, a small error in judgment. A clinical delusion, I suppose. I asked her how, exactly, she had changed. She stammered out some desperate nonsense about being more grateful, more present, more committed to making us work. Empty promises that meant absolutely nothing. Then she said I was so strong, that I had survived cancer, that she had always admired that incredible strength in me. The strength she literally abandoned the second I was diagnosed. That strength. The irony was delicious. I asked her where Cole was these days. I saw her face completely fall. They weren't together anymore. It hadn't worked out. Her voice was flat, dead, as she said it. Just the broken admission that her grand romance had imploded spectacularly. Probably at the exact moment he got demoted, his military pay was cut, and he could no longer offer the lifestyle she had been fantasizing about. She pivoted desperately, her voice getting higher. She said she wasn't there to argue, that she needed to fix things, to come home, that marriage was about forgiveness, about second chances, about working through mistakes, that people did it all the time, that we could too. Please, we could too. I reminded her we weren't married anymore. The divorce had been finalized last month. She whimpered, actually whimpered, said we could get married again, start completely fresh, that she was willing to do absolutely anything. Anything. I asked her what I got out of that deal. What, exactly, was in it for me? She was completely blindsided by the question, as if it genuinely hadn't occurred to her that I would need an actual reason beyond her mere presence. She said, "You'd have me. You'd have us back. Isn't that all you ever wanted?" I spelled it out for her, slowly and clearly. I made sure she understood what she was actually proposing. She wanted to come back after leaving me during cancer treatment, spreading lies about me to everyone we knew, costing me friendships and professional relationships, and she expected me to just welcome her back. And what she was offering in return for all that damage was just herself, just her presence in my life, as if that were some kind of valuable prize. Then she started begging, outright, real tears this time. She said her life was falling apart, no apartment, no car, no money, no future. Her parents were barely speaking to her. She had to drop out of school with nothing to show for it. She was working retail for minimum wage with half a master's degree. It was all terrible, and she desperately needed help. I asked if she really thought that was my problem. She said I could help her if I wanted to, that I had always helped her before, as if our entire history created some kind of permanent obligation, a contract she could still cash in. The buzzer rang. Perfect timing. Nora. I told Lydia my girlfriend was on her way up, that we were moving in together next month. The look on Lydia's face was worth every bit of the last 8 months. A complete emotional breakdown from manipulation to desperation to absolute devastation in 2 seconds flat. She literally gasped. Asked if I had a girlfriend already. How? As if 8 months were an impossible amount of time to move on. I reminded her she had been actively planning her exit for 4 months while we were still married. At least I had the decency to wait until after she was gone. Nora knocked on the door. I opened it. She walked in, took one look at Lydia standing there crying, and understood the entire situation instantly. Years of nursing had given her an ability to read a crisis in a heartbeat. Lydia looked at Nora, then at me, then back at Nora, and said, her voice completely broken, "You're so much prettier than I am." Nora didn't flinch, didn't even blink. I know. And then Nora did something absolutely brutal. She turned to Lydia with a perfectly kind smile and sincerely thanked her. She thanked her for being stupid enough to leave me. She said if Lydia hadn't abandoned me, Nora wouldn't have me now. So really, Lydia's devastating loss was Nora's incredible gain. She was truly grateful. Lydia's face cycled through about 5 different stages of grief in 3 seconds and landed on absolute humiliation and fresh tears. Then Nora looked at the clothes Lydia was wearing, her obvious, I came by bus appearance, her completely defeated posture, and asked in a genuinely concerned voice if she needed some money for gas, or maybe for the bus. All completely sincere, completely kind, and absolutely devastating. I had to turn away so Lydia wouldn't see me actually smiling. Lydia said she should go, her voice barely a whisper. I agreed enthusiastically. Told her that was definitely the best idea she had all night. She walked to the door on shaky legs, stopped, turned around for one last desperate attempt, and with her voice completely broken, asked, "You're really not going to help me? After everything we've been through together?" I told her yes, after everything, because of everything. She left without another word. I shut the door and locked it. I didn't watch her walk away. I didn't care where she went or how she got there. Nora looked at me. Came back begging. Yep. And how did that feel? Better than I thought it would. Good. Now let's go get dinner. I'm starving. We went out to eat. I didn't think about Lydia for the rest of the night, or the next day, or the day after that. She had become what she deserved to be, irrelevant. Comment. Life can throw unexpected challenges our way and test our resilience in profound ways. When you face betrayal or disrespect, remembering your self-worth is crucial. Learning to set clear boundaries can be empowering, protecting your peace and emotional energy. Choosing to heal and rebuild, even after significant loss, is a powerful act of self-love. You are responsible for your own path forward, not for managing other people's reactions or consequences. Sometimes, the kindest thing you can do for yourself is walk away from what no longer serves you. Embrace the journey of finding authentic happiness and building a life that truly thrives. May you choose courage, prioritize your well-being, and define success on your own terms. Remember, your peace is a precious gift, and you deserve to protect it fiercely. If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.